Marvel Rivals' new Vanguard hero, Rogue, is finally playable, and while she is insanely powerful, she is also very complex, perhaps the most complex Vanguard we've had since Emma Frost. And in much the same way, if you can play this hero correctly, you can completely change the outcome of a game. And thanks to her insane ability to copy powers from most every hero in Marvel Rivals, she's creating some complex and unique fights. Mastering Rogue early is definitely going to serve you well in the upcoming seasons, but we really got to go through her fundamentals so you can understand how she functions to use her to her maximal potential. So let's get started. Now with Rogue, the most important part of her kit is no doubt the power steal, but it's not just because it steals a power. She also gains a passive boost based on the class of hero she took the power from. And this is gonna really determine your playstyle. When she's in her neutral form where she is right now, I'm going to show you her basic attack because this is what we can really judge her power changes from. If she does 2 chains of her basic combo, which is a 1-2-3 punch, she does 230 total damage, which puts her just under the threshold of eliminating the squishiest heroes. Now, the way to get past this is if you absorb a duelist hero, because if you absorb a duelist hero, you'll get a 20% damage boost, and that's going to make you able to actually eliminate the squishies, potentially even a 275 squishy. I haven't worked out the math. I'll put that math on screen, let you guys know. But the point here is that really you want to try and absorb a power as fast as possible because there is no downside to having a power. It's just pure boosts on you. And by the way, it does put a minor nerf on the target you absorb a power from. I'll have a video going into more detail about that, ranking the best and worst powers to absorb. But for now, let's focus on Rogue's basic combos. And a little caveat, if Rogue absorbs a Vanguard, she'll get 125 extra health, which puts her at 800 total health. If she absorbs a Strategist, she regains 20 health per second. And in my mind, the regaining health looks attractive, but having 800 total health is going to be much better for you. And you also have to take your strategists into account because your strategists build their ultimate by healing you. So by increasing your health pool as a Vanguard, you're going to be feeding your strategist more ult charge, which by the way is what her ultimate is all about, stealing ult charge. Something I find very interesting about Rogue is that there's little bits of movement designed into most parts of her kit. So as she's running up to someone, she's going to be hitting this shield, and from the shield she can do a dash punch. And this dash punch can actually be regenerated based on the amount of damage you're absorbing, because it actually goes on to cooldown for quite a long time, like 6 seconds. This is really just to get you into the fight. And by the way, that shield damage reduction is only 60%. You are not invincible when you're doing that. And the distance you travel on this shield punch is just over 5 meters, so it's really not that long of a dash. You could actually miss it. But the thing about her primary fire is that you don't have to be that close. It actually has some odd range to it, like she's projecting out energy. The lore of Rogue is that she's been, absorbed chronovium force from the time stream. So this is the real explanation. This is why she has all the yellow effects on her attack. And I like this because she doesn't have to get right in your face and deal direct blows like a thing. She has a little more versatility. And going back to the point of thresholds, this dash punch does 40 damage. So if you combine it with 2 of her primary combos, you'll actually get an elimination on Squishy. But you have to stay really focused on the target, and you are burning a little bit of mobility to do this. However, this is by far the weakest dash in her kit. You have this other dash here that'll send you almost 10 meters. And the thing about it is once you activate it, you can combo it into a little field, and this field will not only do damage, but pull the enemies into you, making them more accessible for your punches. However, you do gotta be careful with this because it has kind of a long cooldown on it, like 16 seconds. Rogue in many ways is like a cooldown dumping character. She's meant to go in, put all of her stuff in the middle, and hopefully she gets something out of it. She isn't nearly as powerful as she looked on paper. She is a very balanced hero, and her skill expression is really going to come down to mixing it up, your knowledge of the game, truthfully. That's what a lot of the more recent characters have been about. Now, the interesting thing about this dash power is that if you go in and lay the radio field and get your life absorb, you actually gain this back. So this dash is incentivized to just rush in, and this is where you can cover 25 meters of distance if you combine her dash attacks together with her life-stealing power. So for example, let's start with the shielding, dash in, then do dash, radial field, then life-steal. And you can see how far we covered with all that, but it did require us to use all of our cooldowns. However, with good timing, we actually got that final dash back, so if we manage to do it in that order with that precise timing, and then things go bad, we still have the ability to dash away, which is definitely going to be an underrated use of this power, the just get out of jail free card. Now her last bit of mobility has a pretty interesting setup. You're going to go like Spider-Man and you're just going to flip kick them in the air. But once you're in the air, you're just in the air for a little bit. But what's great about this power is that while you're up there, you can fire 2 projectiles down and then go into a dive if you're quick enough. And that little radial thing is not going to pull them into you. It is just going to do a little burst of damage. What I've noticed about Rogue is that her damage is pretty restricted. I don't think she does any attack above 50 health unless she has the Duelist boost. That's where I really liken her to, you know, if you're a Pokemon fan, something like a Deoxys, because she really has her defense, her healing, and her attack forms. And those are really what you need to get past certain thresholds and become the powerhouse that Rogue is meant to be. And by the way, if you're trying to use this as escape, it is a little slow, but you can combine it with your dash in midair, and that should be decent to get you to another level of height if you need to escape something. Now, when talking about her ult, it's not actually that powerful damage-wise. It only does 15 HP over 8 seconds. What it's really about is absorbing ultimate power into your teammates. And this is going to absorb 4% ult charge per second, but it's going to cap out at 80%. It's not going to take your enemies any lower than 80%, which keeps it really balanced. If anything, this is what you should lead with to stop the enemy team from using their support ults. If you're trying to cap an endgame or something, you know, trying to pull them off a convoy. And I have a feeling it's going to combine really well with Captain America, because Captain America's ultimate was recently changed to give ult charge. So now you have a battery and you have a leech for ultimate charge. You're pretty much burning that candle from both ends, and if you're playing it right, I think you can completely overwhelm the enemy team just by sheer virtue of the amount of ultimates you're pouring into them. But until people start picking up on that, I just recommend using it aggressively. It can be game-changing in ways you don't suspect. And by the way, it actually drains stats from the enemy dependent on what class they are. If you're a Vanguard, it can actually lower your maximum HP. If you're a Duelist, it can lower your maximum damage. And if you're a Strategist, it lowers the percentage that you're healing your teammates. And this actually increases over the amount of time that people are within the ultimate. I'm not sure on the maximum values of this yet, but just know that if they try to fight you, it puts them in a worse position. If you're on the receiving end of a Rogue ultimate, the best move really is to just kind of get out of there and preserve all your stats as best you can. Now, these are just the basics of Rogue. This is by no means a comprehensive guide. I will be working on that in the future, and I'll be putting up a video pretty soon talking about the best and worst heroes to absorb powers from with Rogue. Be sure to subscribe if this video brought you value or you want to see that. Comment down below how you're feeling about Rogue.